The first crack in my world wasn't a sound. It was a silence. The silence of my daughter's phone, which for 22 years had been a constant humming extension of my own heartbeat, suddenly going cold. For 3 days, my texts to Elara were met with that implacable blue-ticked void. Not a busy, not a sorry, Mum. Work is insane. Just nothing. It was a silence, so profound it seemed to swallow the familiar noises of my own home, the groan of the old oak floorboards, the distant sigh of the dishwasher, the frantic thumping of my own heart. I told myself it was nothing. She was 22, a graduate, a young woman carving her own life in the city an hour away. She had a new job, new friends, a new boyfriend she'd been curiously reticent to bring home. Of course she was busy. But the excuses, woven from the thin, fraying thread of a mother's hope, snapped on the fourth morning. It was a bright, cruel Tuesday. The postman's van rumbled up the drive, a sound so ordinary it felt like a personal insult. Among the bills and junk mail was a single, thick, cream-colored envelope. My name, Evelyn Shaw, was written in a sharp, elegant script I didn't recognize. There was no return address. Inside, on heavy, expensive paper, was a short, devastatingly simple letter from the private bank that managed the trust fund my late husband, Robert, had left for Elara. It was a notice of closure. The entirety of the fund, every last penny of the £200.50, zero Robert had meticulously saved and invested. The money meant for her future, for a house, for security, had been liquidated and transferred out per the request of the beneficiary, Miss Elara Shaw. The transaction was dated 4 days prior. The paper fluttered from my numb fingers. 250. Zero. Gone. Transferred out. The words swam. In my vision. Meaningless. And then, horribly, full of meaning. I stumbled to the kitchen sink, certain I was going to be sick. The room tilted. Robert's face, kind and steady, flashed in my mind. It's for her, Evie. So she'll always have a foundation. So she'll never be desperate. Desperate. What kind of desperation had driven her to do this? Or was it not desperation at all? My hand shook as I dialed her number. It went straight to voicemail, her bright, laughing voice a mockery. "Hi, it's Elara. You know what to do." I didn't. I truly didn't know what to do. I called her workplace, a trendy marketing firm she'd been so proud to join. "I'm sorry, Miss Shaw," a polite, bored receptionist said. "Elara hasn't been in this week. She handed in her resignation last Friday." Friday, the day the money was moved, the day the silence began. A cold, hard knot of dread formed in my stomach. This wasn't forgetfulness. This wasn't being busy. This was a plan, a calculated, secretive act of disappearance. But why? Was it the boyfriend? The one she'd mentioned only in vague, glowing terms. Liam, who worked in finance, who was ambitious, who had big plans. I'd pictured a slick, young city boy in a suit, not a criminal who could orchestrate the theft of £250,000. But had he orchestrated it? Or had she? I grabbed my car keys, my movements robotic. The 1-hour drive to her city apartment stretched into a nightmare journey. Every song on the radio was a love song she'd sung along to. Every billboard seemed to advertise a future she'd just incinerated. I double-parked outside her building, a modern block with a sleek glass front, and buzzed her flat. No answer. I buzzed the concierge. "I'm Evelyn Shaw, Elara's mother. It's an emergency. I need to get into her flat." The concierge, a young man with a skeptical look, checked his computer. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Miss Shaw gave notice. She's moving out. The cleaners are scheduled for tomorrow." "Moving out? To where?" He shrugged, utterly indifferent. No forwarding address left. The world narrowed to a pinprick. "Let me into her flat. Now, or I will call the police right here and report a kidnapping." The threat, wild and unsubstantiated, worked on his fear of drama. Muttering, he produced a key card. Elara's apartment was a mausoleum of her abandoned life. It wasn't ransacked. It was emptied. The furniture, the comfortable sofa we'd picked out together, the bookshelves crammed with her beloved novels, the prints on the walls was all gone. The bedroom was a hollow shell, the wardrobe gaping and empty. In the center of the pristine, cream carpet of the living room sat a single, small cardboard box. My legs gave way. I knelt on the floor, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The box contained the artifacts of our relationship, the things she had deemed unworthy of taking to her new mystery life. A photo album I'd painstakingly made for her 18th birthday, filled with pictures of her and Robert, of Christmases, of beach holidays. A silly mug I'd bought her that said "World's Best Daughter," the necklace with a tiny silver E I'd given her for her 16th birthday, and a sealed envelope with one word written on it in her familiar looping handwriting, "Mum." I tore it open. The letter inside was short. "Mum, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Please don't try to find me. I know what I've done with the trust fund, and I know you'll never understand, but it's for the best. This money is my ticket to a real life, the one I was always meant to have, not the small, safe, suffocating one you and Dad planned for me. Liam and I are going to build an empire. You always said I should chase my dreams. Well, I am. Don't think of this as a betrayal. Think of it as an investment. In me, Elara." The paper crumpled in my fist. A scream built in my throat. A raw, silent thing of pure agony. Suffocating. The life we'd built for her. The love we'd poured into her. The security we'd fought to give her. It was all reduced to a prison in her eyes. And this, Liam. His name was a curse. He had filled her head with poison, twisted her love into this monstrous entitlement. But a terrible, chilling voice whispered in the back of my mind. The handwriting was steady. The words were not those of a brainwashed victim. They were cold, clear, and utterly self-assured. The one I was always meant to have. I stumbled out of the empty apartment, the box clutched to my chest like a coffin. The drive home was a blur of tears and rage. I called the police, but their interest waned the moment I mentioned her age and the letter. A civil matter, they said. An adult choosing to leave. The money? A family dispute. There was nothing they could do. I was alone. Truly alone for the first time since Robert's death. The house, once filled with the echoes of our family, was now just a building. The silence was a physical presence, a weight on my chest. For days, I moved through the motions of life like a ghost. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I just sat in her old bedroom, surrounded by the relics of the girl I thought I knew, trying to find the moment it had all gone wrong. Had I been too strict? Too lenient? Had I talked too much about Robert, building him into a saint whose memory she had to flee? Had I not listened enough? The questions were a torturous merry-go-round, each one leading back to the same gut-wrenching conclusion. My daughter, my Elara, had looked at the life I had given her, at the memory of her father, and had chosen to set it all on fire for a man named Liam and a dream of an empire. A week after my discovery, the anger came. It was a cleansing, furious fire that burned away the grief and the self-pity. She had taken everything Robert had worked for. She had spat on his memory. She had discarded me like yesterday's rubbish. And she thought she could just disappear? She thought I would just accept it? No, I was not going to be the mother who sat weeping in an empty house. I was going to find her. I was going to look into her eyes and demand to know why. And I was going to take back what was left of my husband's legacy. My investigation began in the dust of her abandoned life. I spread the contents of the cardboard box on the living room floor. The photo album yielded nothing. The mug was just a mug. The necklace. I turned it over in my hands. It was cheap, silver, tarnished now. I remembered the day I'd given it to her. She'd thrown her arms around my neck. "I'll never take it off, Mummy," she'd promised, her 12-year-old voice fierce with love. Promises. Just words. Frustrated, I picked up the World's Best Daughter mug. It was a joke, a relic from a time when our biggest conflict was over bedtime. I turned it over. Something was stuffed inside. I reached in and pulled out a crumpled receipt. It was from a coffee shop, dated a few months ago. Scrawled on the back, in Elara's handwriting, was not a note, but a series of numbers and letters. LJ Rafferty 2. It meant nothing to me. A license plate? A password? A product code? But she had hidden it. She had thought this was important enough to keep, but not important enough to take. Or had she simply forgotten it? LJ Liam? His initial? It was the only thread I had. I called an old friend of Robert's, David, a man who had resources and a fondness for me that had sometimes bordered on something more after Robert's death. I hated asking for help, but my pride was a luxury I could no longer afford. "Evelyn? It's been too long." His voice was warm with concern. I told him everything. The silence on the other end of the line was heavy when I finished. "Oh, Evie," he breathed. "I'm so sorry. The little fool. Do you have anything at all on this Liam character?" I read him the code from the receipt. LJ Rafferty 2. "It might be nothing, or it might be everything," he said, his tone shifting into that of the sharp, retired detective he was. "Leave it with me," he called back 2 hours later. LJ Rafferty 2. It's a vehicle registration. A rather flash one. A black Range Rover Sport, registered to a Liam Jameson. Jameson. Liam Jameson. The name sent a jolt through me. It was real. He was real. "I ran the name," David continued, his voice grim. "Evelyn, you need to be careful. This Liam Jameson, he's a known name. Small time, but ambitious. Operates in a gray area between property development and loan sharking. Nasty piece of work. Lots of complaints, no convictions. He's a slick operator, a loan shark, an empire builder. My daughter had thrown away her future for a common criminal. "Do you have an address?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. "Evie, no. This is not a man you just turn up on. Let me make some discreet inquiries." "Discreet inquiries take time." "I don't have time. David, please, the address." He relented, his worry palpable. "It's a penthouse apartment. The Orion Building. Docklands. Very expensive. It seems business is good." The Orion Building. I knew it. A glass and steel monument to new money, towering over the river. It was the perfect lair for a man like Liam Jameson. I didn't go the next day. I spent the day preparing. I dressed not in my usual comfortable clothes, but in a sharp, dark suit I hadn't worn since Robert's funeral. I wanted to look formidable. I wanted to look like a woman who could not be brushed aside. I practiced what I would say in the mirror. My eyes hard, my voice cold. The following morning, I drove to the city, the address programmed into my sat-nav. The Orion Building had a lobby of chilled marble and silent, watchful security. I walked in as if I owned the place, my heart hammering against my ribs. "I'm here to see Liam Jameson," I said to the suited guard at the desk. "Do you have an appointment, madam?" "No." "Tell him it's Evelyn Shaw, Elara's mother." The guard's eyes flickered with a hint of recognition at her name. He made a call, speaking in a low murmur. He listened, nodded, and hung up. "Mr. Jameson will see you. Penthouse A, the private elevator to your right." The elevator was mirrored and silent, ascending with a whisper. The doors opened directly into a vast, open-plan living space, with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing a breathtaking, soulless view of the city and the river. The air smelled of expensive leather and stale ambition. And there she was, Elara. She was standing by the window, her back to me, but I would know the slope of her shoulders, the fall of her honey-blonde hair anywhere. She was wearing clothes I didn't recognize, a sleek, black designer dress that was too old for her. She turned, slowly, as if in a dream. She was beautiful, heartbreakingly so. But her face was different, harder. The light in her eyes, the joyful spark I'd loved since her infancy, was gone, replaced by a cool, watchful gloss. "Mom," she said. Her voice was flat. There was no surprise, no guilt, no warmth. "You shouldn't have come." Before I could answer, a man emerged from a doorway. Liam Jameson. He was younger than I expected, maybe 30, with the fit, groomed look of a man who spent a lot of time and money on his appearance. His smile was a brilliant, white, calculated thing that didn't reach his cold blue eyes. "Evelyn," he said, his voice a smooth, oily baritone. He didn't offer a hand. "What an unexpected pleasure. Elara said you were persistent." "Where is the money, Elara?" I asked, my gaze locked on my daughter, ignoring him completely. "The money is invested, Mom," she said, as if explaining something simple to a child. "It's working for us now, for our future." "Your future? That was your father's money, for your security, not for this." I gestured around the sterile, luxurious apartment. "Security?" Liam chuckled, moving to stand behind Elara, placing his hands possessively on her shoulders. "Security is a myth told to keep people small, Evelyn. Your husband's money was sitting in a fund, gathering dust. We're using it to build something real, a portfolio, a legacy." "A legacy of what?" I spat, finally turning my fury on him. "Loan sharking? Extortion? His smile tightened. Property development. I acquire undervalued assets. It's a ruthless business, but a profitable one. Elara understands that. She has a real head for business. She's my partner. I looked at my daughter, my brilliant, kind-hearted girl who had wanted to be a veterinarian until she was 15. Partner? Is that what you are, Elara? A partner in crime? Her jaw tightened. It's not a crime. It's ambition. Something you never had. You were content to live in Dad's shadow, in that little house, with your little life. I want more. Each word was a knife, expertly twisted. I felt the air leave my lungs. This wasn't a girl under a spell. This was a conversion. She had drunk his Kool-Aid and asked for seconds. I want the money returned, I said, my voice trembling with the effort to stay controlled. What's left of it, now? Liam laughed, a short, harsh sound. That's not possible. It's already leveraged. It's the cornerstone of our next acquisition. What acquisition? A charming little row of cottages in the Cotswolds, Elara said, a flicker of excitement in her dead eyes. A developer wants the land. The current owners are reluctant to sell. Liam's helping them see the benefits. I knew with cold certainty what that meant. He was using my husband's money to fund intimidation, to bully people out of their homes. You will stop this, I said, my voice low and deadly. You will return what is left of that money, or I will go to the police, the press, anyone who will listen. Liam's face lost its pretense of civility. The mask slipped, revealing the predator beneath. He took a step towards me. You listen to me, you interfering old bitch. You will do no such thing. You will walk out of here, and you will never contact Elara again. If you try to damage my business, if you so much as whisper my name to a traffic warden, you will regret it. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you, he hissed. This is the real world. Your daughter has chosen her side. She's mine now. The money is mine. You are nothing but a ghost from a life she's outgrown. Now get out. I looked at Elara. I searched her face for any sign of the girl I loved, for any flicker of remorse, of love, of fear. There was nothing, just a blank, cold wall of entitlement. Elara? I whispered a final desperate plea. Goodbye, Mom, she said, turning her back on me to look out at the view. Don't make this harder than it has to be. I was dismissed by my own child. The elevator ride down was a descent into hell. I walked through the marble lobby, my composure shattering the moment I hit the pavement. I leaned against my car, sobbing, great heaving sobs that tore from a place so deep I thought it would kill me. She was lost, truly, utterly lost, and she had chosen it. The anger returned, colder and harder than before. It was no longer a fire. It was a glacier, slow, immense, and crushing. He thought he had won. She thought she was free. They thought I was a ghost to be ignored. They were wrong. I drove home, a new, terrifying resolve solidifying inside me. I would not get her back. That daughter was gone. But I would destroy what she had chosen. I would burn their empire to the ground. I would take back every penny I could, not for me, but for Robert. For the memory of the good man whose love she had betrayed. My war began not with a bang, but with a whisper. I went back to David. I told him everything I'd seen, everything I'd heard. The Cotswolds project, I said. That's the key. He's using the money to strong-arm people. If we can find them, the people he's targeting, we can find a way to stop him. David, to his credit, didn't try to talk me out of it. He saw the cold fury in my eyes and simply nodded. I'll make some calls. His network was extensive. Within days, he had a name and an address. Arthur and Edith Bramley, an elderly couple who had lived in their cottage for 50 years. A large development firm wanted to build a luxury estate on the land, encompassing their home and those of their neighbors. Most had sold. The Bramleys had refused. They were holding out, and Liam Jameson had been hired to persuade them. I drove to the Cotswolds the next day. The village was picture postcard perfect, a place of honey-colored stone and blooming roses, which made the Bramleys' cottage stand out even more starkly. Its garden was unkempt. The paint on the door was peeling, and the windows had a lonely, defiant look. I knocked. An old man with a weary face and frightened eyes opened the door a crack. Mr. Bramley, my name is Evelyn Shaw. I think we have a common problem. His name is Liam Jameson. He looked at me for a long moment, then opened the door. Over tea served in chipped mugs, Arthur and Edith Bramley told me their story. The offers, the pressure, the visits from Liam's associates, large, silent men who would park outside their home for hours. The threatening phone calls in the middle of the night, the rock thrown through their window with a note tied to it. Sell or burn. They were terrified. They were also stubborn, proud, and heartbroken at the thought of losing the home they'd built their life in. "We can't fight him," Arthur said, his voice trembling. "He's got too much money, too many friends. The police say it's a civil matter." "It's not," I said, a plan forming in my mind, cold and clear. "It's criminal, and I have a way to prove it." My plan was simple and dangerous. I would give them the money. Not all of it, but a significant amount from my own savings. The money Robert had left for me, enough for them to install state-of-the-art security cameras, to hire a private security firm for a month, and most importantly, to hire a brilliant, ruthless lawyer. We would turn the Bramleys' cottage into a fortress and a trap. We would wait for Liam to make his move, and we would be recording. Weeks passed. The silence from Elara was absolute. I threw myself into the campaign, working daily with the Bramleys' lawyer, a fierce woman named Sarah Cohen who smelled blood in the water. We documented everything. We prepared a dossier. Then, one rainy Tuesday night, it happened. The security firm's alert came to my phone. Motion sensors triggered at the Bramleys' property. I watched, my heart in my throat, on the live feed from the hidden cameras. A black Range Rover LJ Rafferty 2 pulled up. Two large men got out, but they weren't alone. A slimmer figure emerged from the passenger seat. Elara. She stood by the car, under an umbrella, as the two men approached the cottage. She wasn't participating, but she was there. She was a witness. She was complicit. One of the men poured a liquid from a canister onto the Bramleys' beloved wooden porch. The other struck a match. The screen flared with light. "Now," I whispered into my phone to Sarah Cohen, who was on the line with the local police, who we had finally convinced to lie in wait. "Do it now." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing rapidly closer. The two men panicked, dropped the canister, and ran for the car. Elara's face, illuminated by the flickering flames and the car's headlights, was a mask of shock and fear. She screamed something at Liam's men, then scrambled into the Range Rover as it screeched away from the curb. But it was too late. The police had the plate. They had the video. They had the men on camera, caught in the act of attempted arson. The arrests were made within the hour. The two thugs, terrified of taking a fall alone, were quick to give up their employer in exchange for a deal. Liam Jamison was arrested at his penthouse the next morning. I wasn't there for that. I was sitting in my quiet living room, waiting. I knew she would come. She had nowhere else to go. Her car screeched to a halt in my driveway just after noon. She slammed the front door open, her hair wild, her makeup streaked with tears of rage. "What have you done?" she screamed, her voice cracking. "You ruined everything!" She stood before me, shaking. Not the cool, sophisticated partner from the penthouse, but a cornered, furious child. "I stopped a criminal," I said, my voice quiet and steady, "and I recovered what was left of your father's money. The court seized it from his accounts this morning." Her eyes widened in horror. "That was our money. You had no right." "I had every right," I roared, finally standing, my own composure breaking. "It was never yours to steal. It was your father's, for your future, not for you to bankroll a thug." "He loved me," she shrieked. "He saw my potential. You never did. You just wanted me to be quiet and small and grateful, just like you." "Is that what you think?" I said, the fight suddenly draining out of me, leaving only a vast, empty sorrow. "You think I am small? I loved you. I protected you. I gave you everything I had. Your father's money was just money. What you threw away, that was priceless." She stared at me, her chest heaving. The reality was beginning to pierce her bubble of self-delusion. Liam was in jail. The money was gone. The empire was dust. "He'll get out," she said, but her voice was weaker now, pleading. "He'll explain it was a misunderstanding." "He won't," I said coldly. "The Bramleys have him on video ordering the arson. His men have testified against him. He's going away for a long time. And you were there, Elara. You were an accessory." The color drained from her face. You wouldn't. The choice is yours. I said, sitting back down, exhausted to my very bones. "The police have the video. They know you were there. They will be here to question you soon. You can tell them the truth, that you were coerced, that you were afraid of him, and perhaps they will show you leniency. Or you can lie and go down with him." I looked at my daughter, at the ruins of the beautiful life she had chosen. "But whatever you decide, you will not do it from here. You made your choice months ago. You chose him. You chose that life. You live with the consequences." The betrayal in her eyes was breathtaking. She had truly believed, even after all of this, that I would save her, that I would clean up her mess, that my love was unconditional and infinitely forgiving. And perhaps it was, but it was also wise and broken, and it knew now that saving her would only destroy us both. "Get out of my house," I said, my voice barely a whisper. She left. She didn't slam the door. She closed it quietly, a final, pathetic echo of the good manners I'd taught her. I watched from the window as she got into her car, a flashy sports car I now knew Liam had bought her, and drove away, down the road that led away from her home, and into the wreckage of the future she had designed for herself. The police came later. I gave them my statement. I showed them the letter she had left me. I told them I believed she was under Liam's manipulative control, but that I did not know for sure. It was the truth. I heard through David that she took the deal. She testified against Liam, painting herself as a naive victim, seduced and terrified. She received a suspended sentence. Liam got 10 years. I don't know where she is now. The money was returned, less the substantial legal fees for the Bramleys' defense, which I paid gladly. The remainder sits in a new trust fund. I don't know if she will ever come for it. I don't know if I will ever see her again. The house is quiet. The silence is no longer a threatening presence. It is just silence. I tend my garden. I visit Robert's grave and tell him that I tried. Some days, the grief is a physical weight. Other days, there is a grim sort of peace. The betrayal was not a single event, but a chain of choices, each one breaking a link between us. She broke my heart, but in doing so, she freed me from the illusion of the daughter I thought I had. The love remains, a scar over my heart, but the war is over. And in the devastating silence she left behind, I am finally, terribly, free.